Welcome, my friends, to this week's captivating episode on Motivational Moments with Maria. I'm your high performance coach. You know, I call myself Crazy Coach Maria. And every week, it is my intention to bring you something that is going to help you in your personal growth, in your spiritual growth, in your movement growth, because it is my hope and my wish that we all live joyful, productive, energetic, and courageous lives. And this week is no exception. I've got another surprise for you today. I've invited one of my colleagues to speak with you today on the power of movement and how important movement is in our lives. And at my seasoned age, it's important that I move. But I brought a special guest to you today. Her name is Kelly Etter. Kelly Etter is a dancer. And now many of you saying, dancer? What does dancing have to do with movement? Well, just about everything. Because how many times have you been on the dance floor and you're just like so free? It's freeing and the energy flows from you. And so Kelly is now a certified Pilates instructor. And I know many of you are practicing Pilates, and many of us need to practice Pilates. Right, Miss Kelly? So
Right.
here's the thing. What I wanted to do is I wanted to bring her on and talk about her career and how her career catapulted into another secondary career. And Kelly really is awesome. She graduated from, yes, not just little dance school. I mean, she came from the best. The New York City American Music and Dramatic Academy. And she taught dance in Chicago. She has done, and again at the American Dance Academy in New York. So she has been in this movement career for a long time. Now, what's really special is she is an ex-Rockette. So those of you that have ever been to watch a Rockette show, myself included, probably saw Kelly out there. And so on this note, on a 5, 6, 7, 8, welcome, Miss Kelly.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you so much. What a wonderful, warm introduction. And I love your mission statement and your mission of bringing weekly support and encouragement to your listeners.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Because I believe that we all have gifts to share with people, with everyone. And the more positivity we bring to the universe, the better off we all are. So I want you to talk about your journey. Tell us, I introduced you a little bit, but tell us about yourself and your background.
Sure, absolutely. So I am a passionate teacher and facilitator, and I'm really dedicated to making a positive, healing, encouraging, and empowering impact on the world.
Oh,
My journey began with a significant physical challenge, actually. I was born extremely pigeon-toed, so when I started to learn to walk, I tripped over my own toes. So this required me to wear leg braces. And the combination of the leg braces and then dance classes really played a crucial role in retraining my muscles and aligning my legs properly. Actually, I've sometimes joked that I really should find that doctor who's sadly probably long gone by now because that was 54 years ago. Um, a thank you note, because essentially he said, put her into ballet class. It'll be a form of physical therapy. It'll start training her legs outward like the braces are twisting her legs outward. And my mom tried. She took me to 3 dance studios, and each of the teachers was like, I can't work with that. I don't know what to do with that. Finally, the 4th studio, the teacher said, well, here's a little chair. You can leave her here and she can observe and see how things go. And when my mom came back, I was up in the midst of the class. I'm like, no, I don't sit still.
okay.
So,
So let me ask you a question.
oh, sure.
I'm going to ask you a question because, and I ask the audience a question too. It's like, have you ever had someone, someone tell you that you couldn't do something or that you had limitations in your life. And Kelly, I can so relate because I actually my hips weren't connected to my body when I was younger. So I had to wear braces too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I know what you're talking about. I wasn't pigeon-toed, but I had to wear them because I wasn't connected correctly. So
Okay.
you overcame that as a child. So continue to tell us more.
Yeah. Well, and little side note, when you said that, about how, have you asked your listeners, have you ever been told, had limits put on you or told you can't do something? I find it fascinating that when we're children, we often don't accept that, right? We don't hear that. We just do what we want to do, right? I was told,
Absolutely.
my mom was told, okay, we'll put her in this little chair and she'll watch and you can come back and get her at the end. But somehow, over time, as we get older, we often allow somebody else's speaking a limitation over us to in fact limit us. So how great to be, how fortunate I was actually, I guess, that happened when I was a child and I was, I didn't know I was supposed to sit in the chair or yeah, I couldn't sit still. So I got up and I took class. And when the teacher realized that she could work with me or that, I was going to get out of it what I could get out of it, why she became a very supportive teacher. And I wound up um, having a nearly 20-year career as a professional dancer and in musical theater. And as you mentioned, the highlight of it was being able to perform as a Rockette in the Radio City Christmas Spectacular. And I considered myself even more fortunate in that I got to be in the show the first year they did an international production. So I got to do the show in Mexico City. And so we have
Ah, beautiful.
parade. Yeah, it was really cool at the National Auditorium in Mexico City. But that was towards the end of my dance career. I was already getting older. And so I retired to start a family and transitioned into a very fulfilling career as a certified Pilates trainer. And that helped me help others heal from chronic pain and achieve their fitness goals.
So how did you, I mean, did you always do Pilates? And, because it seemed like I don't remember Pilates being a thing
Right.
20 years ago. So how did you discover the power of Pilates?
Actually, through a colleague when I was still doing shows. We were doing Crazy for You in Fish Creek, Wisconsin. And when we were in rehearsals all day long, we felt like we were staying in shape. But then once the show opened, it was a beautiful vacation town, quiet, sleepy vacation town. And so once the show was opened, we could ride bikes around town, but we started feeling like we weren't staying in shape as much as we'd like. And a girlfriend who was in the show with me, she'd actually been in a tour of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat and had stepped off a curb in New York City and gotten hit by a cab.
Oh,
Fortunately, it wasn't horrible, but it did really do a number on her neck. And the doctor told her, yeah, you're going to want to look for a different career. She was fortunate in that the physical therapist that worked with her was also trained in Pilates and so kind of progressed her from physical therapy to modified Pilates to full challenging Pilates back into the dance career. So when we were circling back to the beginning of my answer, I go off on little rabbit trails, why we were given permission to move all the furniture in the lodge where they fed us dinner. So we would move the furniture and she would lead a Pilates session. Right before then we were due backstage for the show. So we were nice and warmed up for the show. So that was my first introduction to it and seeing the power, the healing power of the Pilates movements, the Pilates method.
okay. And so then you decided, I still love movement. I still love dance. And Pilates continues to keep me connected to that movement, if you will. And so you continued uh, to do it, but then you decided, I'm going to take it a step further and I'm going to make this into a career.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
Okay. So what is I don't know that much about Pilates, but I've done a couple things, movements, and what does Pilates do that yoga doesn't do, or your cardio doesn't do, or lifting weight? Tell me the differences.
I don't have a whole lot of experience with yoga. My experience with yoga, though, was that it was mostly about endurance in a pose. you're put in a pose and you maintain that pose and you breathe into that pose. And there's certainly value in that. Pilates is more fluid movement. So that spoke to me more because of the movement, keeping moving, right? As I said, I wasn't very good at standing still as a kid. I was constantly the one doing little with my feet or my arms. And then the real focus on strengthening abs and back, improving flexibility of spine and limbs, coordinating breath with motion, increasing people's body awareness. A lot of people don't have that. We haven't been trained. Our schools haven't trained us to be aware of where our body is in space, how to use our body, use healthy body mechanics in our daily life. I'm very passionate about that. And that was my understanding. Joe Pilates' goal also was to improve people's quality of life. He didn't, he saw people go to the gym and their mind was elsewhere and they're just slamming the weights and they're more likely to get injured. So it's really important to me to I was also a kid that was always why? So it's very important to me to educate my clients on healthy body mechanics. Why are we doing these exercises? Why do we move in this way? So that when you're unloading and loading your dishwasher, or if you have a stackable, I'm looking over at a stackable, right? That you're not bending at your waist, because that puts pressure on the discs between the vertebrae and eventually could herniate a disc.
Okay.
Rather, we're
Right.
built to bend at our hips and maintain our lumbar curve. So things like that. I find it very empowering because we get a lot out of it. You get the exercise, the strengthening, the ability to apply it to daily life activities and move healthfully. And then you can take it on into whatever age.
Okay. So, it's interesting you say that because I was talking to one of my clients the other day and I was on Zoom with her. She comes on the call and she says, I am beat. And she's a young woman. She's a young woman. And I said, what's going on? She goes, I just took my first Pilates class. I'm like, my butt is so sore. My back is, she goes, I am just dripping sweat. And I thought, from Pilates? I had no idea. I thought maybe I should, check it out. She goes, yeah, it was really intense. She goes, but I felt great afterwards. Now, is
Mm,
Pilates something that you can carry, you can do forever?
yes.
Modify? Okay, so it is.
Yes. Yep. And you don't even necessarily have to modify it. I love this vocabulary word, so I'm going to use it. One of my longtime clients is an octogenarian.
Oh,
And
okay.
we don't modify. She is a rock star. We do the advanced exercises full out. She doesn't have modifications. I know I wouldn't recommend that for an 80-year-old coming to Pilates their very first session, but I've been working with her for, gosh, well, around 18 to 20 years.
Wow.
So yeah, so it is definitely something that's another thing that I like about it is it's not something that one has to give up as one ages. You don't age out of it. It's very tailorable to each individual and what they need, what they want to get out of it, and what their body needs.
Okay, so when you started, did you run into any obstacles? I know as a kid you did, but as you were moving into your Pilates career, did you have any obstacles or challenges to overcome?
Well, yeah. I mean, I movement has always been kind of emotionally and mentally, movement has been my lifeline. And especially during some of my darkest moments. And after I unfortunately went through a divorce, I fell into quite a deep pit of depression and anxiety, panic attacks. I wasn't sleeping. So even though when I was in summer stock, actually, Hampton, New Hampshire, I got to do a whole season of summer stock. So I got to do lots of different shows, Anything Goes, La Cage aux Folles, just a couple of them. I was nicknamed Smile. And one of the guys who did the sets in the shop, one morning my roommate and I came out of our cabin and there was this big wooden smile hanging on the doorknob. And so that's one of my favorite memories and um, oh, I don't know the word for it now, but mementos, I guess, of a period of time in my life. But anyway, so even though I have been nicknamed Smile, that time in my life after the divorce, or as going through the separation and the divorce, it was my face felt too heavy to smile.
Mhm.
I often found myself curled up in a ball on the floor, just overwhelmed and unable to imagine how I was going to climb out of this pit I'd fallen into. And I was gripped by fear about my future. I wasn't sure if being on my own, building my Pilates practice was going to provide what I needed to provide for myself and my little boy. I really felt like I was kind of always in a state of fight or flight, like a tiger was always at my back. And each night I'd lie down next to my little boy trying to help him fall asleep. And I'd just pray, God, please don't let him feel me shaking. And there was one night that was especially pivotal and everything changed. I normally took a bath and then a sleeping pill and went to bed. My doctor said, you've got to have sleep. You know, we used to, sleep deprivation was a form of torture, right? And that's
Yes.
essentially what you're going through right now. So, but that night, I don't know what happened. I lost track of what was going on. I thought I might be able to fall asleep. So I took the sleeping pill and then I wasn't able to fall asleep. So then I took my bath. And the next thing I remember is waking up and discovering my mom, who didn't live with us, on the couch. And she said she had raced over and pulled me unconscious out of the tub. And
Mm.
oh, Maria, it hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, that my little boy almost lost his mom. I couldn't let that happen. So I realized at that moment that God had sent my mom to save me for a reason, and that, kind of like your big girl panties, that
Yeah,
I could no longer allow my circumstances to define me. So
right.
in that moment, I made a powerful decision to surround myself with supportive, encouraging people, compassionate people. I committed to becoming the best mom and Pilates trainer that I could possibly be. And being of service was very helpful to help pull me out of that pit, and allowing myself to be no longer allowing myself to be defined by my circumstances. And then actually, I got back to dancing. I'd set it aside for way too long. And so those choices and actions really transformed my life.
Transformed your life and transformed your business, I take it, because
Yes.
you knew you say, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to be the best that I can be. And I'm not going to let, as you said, the circumstances of your life define who you are.
Right.
And how could you imagine, like, you're sitting there, I said, I'm trying to get my son to go to sleep and I'm shaking. And then the thought of you not being there, that is a wake up call, right? It was a wake
Right.
up call. Like,
That's
okay, I'm going to, as I call it, I say, I put my big girl panties on so I can get over it. And I am going to bounce back and I'm going to create this incredible business. And your business is done both in person and virtually, right? So
right.
you teach Pilates, and is it group or is it individual?
I do both. I do
Okay.
both. In my brick and mortar where I am right now, I see mostly one-on-one clients or duets. And right now I'm actually blessed to work with two mother-daughter teams and two husband-wife teams. So
Oh, good.
that's really cool. Yeah, I love that. I do specialty workshops on my deck, where actually Sunday is something called Oasis, Release, Restore, Refresh, Retreat on deck. So I've also, during lockdown, I did some continuing education. I learned about curriculum design. I learned about our nervous system and how much a healthy nervous system, a resilient nervous system, has to do with both movement learning
Mhm.
and habit creation, healthy habit creation. I kept running into people that said, oh, I'd really love to exercise. I say I'm going to do it and then I don't. And I just don't know why I don't. Well, I started learning, oh, well, people shouldn't be, I don't want people to beat themselves up and say, well, I just have no follow through. That's actually not it. If their nervous system is dysregulated, is a better way to put it, why then deep inside they don't feel safe. And if we don't feel safe, we aren't going to take a risk. We aren't going to be able to develop a new habit. It's going to be harder for us to learn movement. So now the program I developed during lockdown, Reclaim Your Body, Reclaim Your Life, it's a 12-week program, includes not only movement, teaching Pilates, teaching healthy body mechanics, but then also addressing the nervous system, giving my students tools to have a more resilient nervous system so that it supports them in everything they do in life. So it is more of a transformational, well-rounded program.
That's beautiful because everything that you're doing is impacting your health, and we all know that our health is our wealth. I don't care what anybody says, your health is your wealth, and what you do in your 40s affects your 50s, what you do in your 50s affects 60s, and so on. So I love that you are looking at the individual holistically, and
Mm-hmm.
and really getting down into, okay, so what's holding you back from creating this new habit of exercising or Pilates or whatever it is. I love that you're getting down to that foundational level or that subconscious level that is holding someone back from doing what they know is good for their body, right?
Right. And that they truly want to do. It's not necessarily that they're like, well, my doctor told me this is good for me, so I should do it. Or, well, you're telling me I should. I mean, we don't want to should on people, right? That's
We
should.
don't
There's
want to shit
shame
on
in
people.
that. but but it's quite often it's something that they really want to do, and they just don't understand why they're not following through, why they're not taking the next step. And nobody's taught them that, well, your nervous system, it's there to protect you. It's in
Mhm.
protection mode right now because something somewhere in you isn't feeling safe. So let's address that. Let's give you tools to downregulate your nervous system, to recognize that, so your insides recognize that it is safe for you to take these steps.
Beautiful. And how do you see this whole Pilates? I mean, I've seen a lot more Pilates classes, but how do you see the field and the industry evolving in the future?
Well, the Pilates and fitness industry are constantly evolving, right? Like a lot of things in our life right now.
Right.
And I really see exciting trends on the horizon. There's a growing emphasis, like you mentioned, holistic. There's a growing emphasis on holistic health and wellness and integrating mindfulness and mental health practices into physical fitness routines. And so actually this holistic approach really aligns perfectly with my belief in the emotional and mental benefits of movement. I mean, I really leaned heavily into movement to help get me through my
Mhm.
deepest, darkest challenges. And technological advances are also on our sides, right? Because now fitness is more accessible, like you mentioned, through Zoom, so there are virtual programs as well. So no matter someone's location, why they can have access to Pilates. And then the increasing awareness of proper posture and alignment is also driving more people, right? Is also driving more people to seek out Pilates for its therapeutic benefits. So I'm
Yeah.
really excited about the potential to reach and positively impact even more people through online programs, through in-person sessions and retreats. And what I'm excited about now, you mentioned colleague, right? Well, the work we're doing in personal development and that type of growth, I really am looking forward to offering more robust retreats where it's not strictly a Pilates exercise retreat, but it incorporates personal development work too. So there's a truly holistic transformation of lives.
Yes, absolutely. And I agree with you a bazillion percent. I mean, absolutely. Taking a look at the person as a whole. So
Right.
now I know you're in Pasadena, California, and
Mm-hmm.
you offer one-on-one or group in Pasadena at your studio. But if somebody wants to reach you to look at getting into your online programs,
Mm-hmm.
how do they reach you?
They can email me at the number one, X Rockette, so one EXROCKETTE at gmail.com. They can visit my website, kellyetter.com. Follow me, Kelly Etter, KELLYETTER, on Facebook, and or follow me on Instagram. That's at Kelly Etter Pilates.
Great. Kelly Etter, Etter, wonderful. Listen, is there and I always love to end the conversation with this crazy question. And it's my crazy self, that's who I am. If a Gina came down and granted you three wishes, I ask every single guest, came down and granted you three wishes, what would those be?
What a fun question. Um, okay, Jeannie. Grant me an amazing retreat center that has beautiful gardens and water features where I can host wellness, Pilates, and self-development retreats and invite others to collaborate with me in doing so. I really have a collaborative spirit. I love working with other people and playing
Absolutely.
off each other's energy, supporting each other. So that would be number one. Number two would probably be broaden my reach so that through my programs, I can positively impact more people, help them heal from chronic pain, gain strength and resilience, so that I can really support more people in transforming into the best possible version of themselves.
Good. And
Okay,
your third one.
three.
Everything comes in
Um,
threes in our
Everything good comes in threes. All right. Ooh, invitations to travel the world, guest teaching and facilitating healing and transformation.
Oh, beautiful. Okay. Well, those are coming because we're putting it
Yes.
out to the universe. You say, you ask and you shall receive.
Shall receive, ask believing, and you shall receive.
That
Yes.
is right. That's absolutely right. Kelly, I am just thrilled that you joined us today to share how powerful Pilates is and can be for others suffering from pain, suffering from limitations, and aligning their body and mind together. That's spiritual, physical, and you know how it goes. So I really appreciate you joining us today. And I want to say to you out there, listeners, you know that you have someone that needs to hear this message. So go ahead and hit the share button. Like, don't wait, do it now. Share it with your colleagues, your friends, your social media buddies. And next week, I will be back at you, and I've got some other special guests coming to you. So until next week, my friends, what do I always say? Stay focused, stay positive, always have fun, and no matter what you choose to be, do, or have, do it with passion and do it with Pilates. I'm adding that one now. Thanks again, Kelly. I appreciate it.
Oh, it was my pleasure, Maria. Thank you for inviting me.
It was wonderful.
Likewise.